When a woman leaves you, she's expecting a reaction. She practically banks on it. She expects the texts. She expects the calls. She expects a certain amount of emotional chaos. Her decision to end things has been thought through. And in her mind, your predictable meltdown is already part of the plan. It's the final validating chapter of the story she's been writing for weeks. It's the last piece of the puzzle, the proof she needs to confirm to herself, to her friends, and to her family that she made the right choice. Your chaos is her closure. But what happens when you do the one thing she never saw coming? What happens when you refuse to play your assigned role in her script? You give her silence. You give her peace. You give her dignity. This response doesn't just surprise her. It triggers a powerful psychological reaction that most men never see because they're too busy begging for another chance. It completely short-circuits her. Emotional and logical reasons for the breakup. And in this video, we're going to break down step by step what a woman really feels when you move on peacefully and why it's the most powerful move you can possibly make. To understand the power of peace, you first have to get what she's bracing for, the predictable storm. Right after a breakup she initiated, a woman's mind is a fortress. She spent weeks, maybe even months, building emotional walls and justifying her decision. Those walls are built with bricks of late-night journaling, long conversations with friends who validate her feelings, and a mental highlight reel of every single one of your flaws and every argument you ever had. She has a script in her head, a story where she's the one making the tough but necessary choice for her own good. And in her story, you have a starring role, the desperate ex. She expects the late-night, "I miss you" texts that turn into pleading paragraphs. She anticipates the angry calls where you demand answers she isn't willing or able to give. She foresees the sad or passive-aggressive social media posts designed to make her feel guilty. She might even be bracing for you to show up unannounced at her work or contact her friends and family, trying to recruit them to your cause. She expects you to fight for the connection to show her you can't live without her, and in doing so, prove exactly why she has to live without you. Every one of these reactions does one thing. It validates her decision. It confirms her story that you're emotionally unstable, that you depend on her for happiness, and that the relationship was a sinking ship. Your panic becomes her peace of mind. Your chaos gives her clarity. You hand her the justification for her actions on a silver platter, letting her walk away feeling certain she dodged a bullet instead of having a heavy heart full of doubt. Research suggests that while both partners feel significant pain, women often report feeling the emotional blow of a breakup more intensely right at the start. Your desperate behavior helps her rationalize that intense pain as a necessary evil to escape a bad situation. This is where the post-breakup glowdown often begins. Let's be clear, no guy wakes up and decides to lose his dignity. It's a slow slide fueled by panic and a feeling of a lost identity, especially for men who have made their partner their primary source of emotional support. It starts with letting your place get messy, then letting your health slide, then dropping your responsibilities. All of his energy is pointed outward at her instead of inward at himself. He becomes a living monument to the dead relationship, a ghost haunting the past, making it impossible for her to ever reconsider what could have been. Now, let's imagine a different ending. The breakup happens, the last words are said, and then you give her silence. Not an angry, resentful silence. Not a fake, "look how much I don't care" silence played out on social media. Just a quiet, dignified retreat. You don't block her, but you don't reach out. You don't post about the breakup, but you don't stop living your life. You accept reality with a calm that is as unsettling as it is unexpected. You turn your focus inward. This is the single most disruptive thing you can do. It's a pattern interrupt. Her brain, her emotions, her whole being is ready for a fight, a chase, some drama. She's built up all this defensive energy, and you've given her a vacuum instead. This kicks off the first stage of her reaction, Total confusion. Her internal script is shredded. The character she cast as the desperate ex just didn't show up for the performance. She's left alone on her stage with nothing to push against. This lack of resistance is deeply unsettling. All the emotional energy she built up to defend her decision now has nowhere to go. So it turns inward, forcing her to sit with the one thing she was trying to escape, the pure, unfiltered reality of her own choice. For some women, especially those with an avoidant attachment style, who value independence and can shut down emotionally, this silence might feel like a relief at first. She might think, "Thank God he's not chasing me. This is easy." But even for her, the pattern is broken. An avoidant person's core strategy is to deactivate their emotions and create distance from a perceived threat. Your predictable chase. When there's no chase, there's no threat to react to, and her own coping mechanism becomes useless. On some level, the silence registers as a profound anomaly. For most other women, particularly those with more anxious attachment patterns who crave connection and fear abandonment, the confusion is immediate and intense. Their entire post-breakup strategy might be built around managing your expected reaction. Your silence thwarts this. Why isn't he calling? Is he already over it? Did I mean that little to him? The question starts swirling, and for the first time, she doesn't have easy answers. You're not playing the game. By accepting the reality of the situation, you're showing her that you're grounded in a way she never expected. This forces her to confront that same reality from her side of the fence. She has to face the consequences of her choice, without the comforting distraction of your emotional chaos. The vacuum you create with your peace becomes a space that only her own thoughts can fill. And that's where the next, more powerful stage begins. This is the part that many men struggle to grasp because it goes deeper than romance. Respect comes before love. It's the non-negotiable foundation that all healthy, lasting attraction is built on. A woman will not stay attracted to a man she doesn't respect. Period. When you react to a breakup by begging, pleading, and having emotional meltdowns, you're screaming that you don't respect yourself. You're signaling that your emotional state, your very sense of self-worth, depends entirely on her. That is fundamentally unattractive. But when you respond with quiet dignity, you do the opposite. Your peace isn't seen as indifference. It's seen as strength. It shows that even though you might be in pain, your self-worth isn't tied to her being in your life. You're showing that you have what psychologists call a secure attachment style, the ability to be resilient and regulate your own emotions, even in the face of loss. Think of a captain on a ship in a hurricane. The crew is panicking, waves are crashing down. If the captain starts screaming that they're all doomed, running around in a frenzy, the ship is lost because its leader has lost himself. But if he stands calmly at the helm, focused, giving clear orders and steering through the storm, he commands respect. He isn't emotionless. He's just governed by discipline, not fear. That's how a woman sees a man who handles a breakup with peace. You become the captain of your own ship. This is the start of the true glow-up. It's not about posting gym selfies to show off. It begins with the small, unseen acts of self-respect. Keeping your apartment clean, taking care of your hygiene, showing up to work prepared, eating well, getting sleep. These actions send a powerful subconscious message. I am a man who respects himself even when I'm hurting. And women tend to have a pretty sharp intuition for this kind of genuine self-control. Now, to be clear, the idea that a woman never leaves a man she respects is too simple. A woman might leave a partner she deeply respects if her core needs, like a need for security, often tied to her anxious attachment style, aren't being met. However, the core principle holds true. While respect alone doesn't guarantee a relationship will last, a lack of respect absolutely guarantees it will fail. You can't build anything lasting on a foundation of pity. By moving on peacefully, you're actively rebuilding that foundation of respect, both for yourself and in her eyes. You're showing through your actions that you're a man of high character. And this newfound respect is the fertile ground where other more complex emotions can start to grow. Once that foundation of respect is there, the psychological landscape starts to shift. Your silence created a void, and your dignified actions have filled that void with respect. Now the seeds of doubt can finally sprout. Welcome to the stage of regret and the what-if cascade. Your quiet, continued growth creates a powerful contrast. You're not the same man she left. The guy she broke up with was one half of a failing relationship. The man who is now moving forward with purpose is someone she hasn't met yet. This creates a gap between her memory of you and the reality of who you're becoming. This is where she starts to question her own story. The reasons she had for leaving, which seemed so clear at the time, start to look a little flimsy next to your current strength. Her internal monologue shifts from, "I made the right choice," to "Did I make a mistake?" From "He couldn't live without me," to "He's thriving without me." What if I was the one holding him back? This process is amplified by a well-documented psychological tendency. Research shows that women are often prone to more rumination after a breakup. That is replaying events over and over in their minds, which can amplify their emotional response. Your silence gives her the uninterrupted space to do exactly that. Her mind will comb through the relationship looking for clues. But since you're no longer giving her fresh evidence of weakness, she's forced to re-examine the old evidence. She might start to romanticize the good times. The frustrating arguments fade, but the memory of laughing together on a road trip suddenly becomes crystal clear. Of course, your silence alone doesn't guarantee a spiral of regret. It's not a magic trick. But what your peaceful detachment does is create the necessary psychological space for reevaluation to happen. The other key ingredient is your genuine growth. When she happens to see your life through a mutual friend or a quick glance at your social media and she sees authentic progress, not a performance, that's when the what-ifs get real power. What if I had stayed? What if he's becoming the man I always wanted him to be? Your peace becomes a mirror, and instead of reflecting your flaws, it reflects the possibility that she made a huge mistake. This brings us to the final stage, the spark of renewed attraction. This isn't magic. It's a simple principle of human psychology called the scarcity principle. This principle states that we value things more when we perceive their availability to be limited. When you were chasing her and begging, your perceived value dropped to 0. You were predictable and emotionally cheap. But the moment you chose peace, you flipped the whole script by withdrawing with dignity and focusing on yourself. You made your time, your energy, and your validation scarce. And scarcity creates value. You stopped being a known quantity and became a mystery. You stopped being a follower and became the leader of your own life. You became a challenge again. This can trigger what psychologists call reactance, a desire to pursue the very thing that has been taken away or is no longer freely available. Your genuine happiness is the ultimate proof of this high value. When she sees you are truly authentically at peace, and maybe even happy without her, it proves you are the source of your own well-being. This signals resilience, independence, and an inner strength that is magnetic. This isn't about faking it. It's about taking all that raw emotional energy from the breakup and using it to build things instead of break things. You don't just build a better body, you build the discipline that comes with it. You don't just build a new skill, you build the confidence that follows. You build stronger friendships. You build a business. You build a life that is so full of purpose that the old relationship becomes just a chapter in your story, not the whole book. That's what she sees. A man on a mission, not a man waiting by the phone. And she realizes that to be a part of that man's life now would be a privilege, not a chore. This is the Phoenix effect, rising from the ashes of the breakup. Not as the same person, but as someone stronger, more focused, and infinitely more valuable. If this is hitting home for you, if you're going through this right now, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. We're building a community of men focused on real strength and self-respect. And while you're at it, drop a comment below with, "I chose growth," if you're committed to walking this path. We've spent all this time breaking down her psychology, but now we get to the most important truth of all. This entire strategy, this mindset of moving on peacefully, will fail and fail hard if your main reason for doing it is to manipulate her into coming back. If you're just being silent to get a reaction, she'll feel it. If you're going to the gym just to post pictures for her to see, that inauthenticity will shine through. Doing things for her is just another form of chasing, and it never works. The only way this works is if you move on peacefully for yourself. The psychological benefits of no contact are for you. They're a tool for healing and gaining clarity. Her renewed respect, her regret, her potential attraction, all of that is just a byproduct, a possible side effect of the real work. The real prize isn't getting her back. The real prize is you getting yourself back. It's about rebuilding yourself into a man who is stronger, more centered, and more driven than you were before. Research on the no contact rule shows that it's a process of rewiring your brain's approach to attachment and emotional regulation. This journey is about shifting your mindset from being a victim to being an owner. You stop blaming her. You stop blaming yourself, and you start taking ownership of your life, your emotions, and your future. You give yourself closure instead of waiting for her to give it to you. The ultimate goal isn't to make her regret leaving you. The goal is to build a life so incredible, so full of purpose, and so genuinely happy that you don't care if she regrets it or not. When you reach that point, when her opinion of you is no longer the driving force in your life, that is when you have found true power. That is true peace. And that is a man any woman would be forced to respect.